Hello. I am videotaping you because I have a question. So first of all, who are you?
Doug Bennett.
Okay, thank you. So you told me something about rent and the visual, the appearance of suffering being on sidewalks and property value, etc. So could you, along those lines, can you inform us?
The California long ago learned how to raise property value falsely. So property value is supposed to come up by filling potholes, having better schools, things that would attract people to a region. But instead, it's much quicker to use the supply and demand. So long ago, California left people in tents living outside, and they found out that property owners could ask anything they want as long as there's people unhoused, and so that we're now called the retirement bedroom for California. So California has taken over, and they want the same property value as they left behind in California. So they hire, through campaign contributions and kickbacks, they hire their politicians who will give great stories to the public how they're going to solve homelessness, and then they do just the opposite when they get elected. And the other entity that's powerfully behind this is nonprofits, which most people call them poverty pimps. So they, as long as there's people on the streets without a house, donations roll in. And to keep those donations rolling in, they have to keep the supply and demand off balance. So in all business, you have supply and demand affects it. So if you lower the supply, the price can go up. And only with material things, you can leave them in a warehouse, or with oil, you can leave it in the ground. And the oil companies told us in the 70s we were out of oil, and we weren't. And so they ran up the value, but the oil stays in the ground. But people don't stay in the ground. They have to be seen when they're being used to change the balance of supply and demand to raise property value. So the nonprofits, they get their donations based on how ugly it is in the neighborhood, and they claim to be solving the problem. Instead, they're amassing wealth for their corporation, and so they do the same thing. They hire their politicians to tell lies to the public so they can get elected, and then continue this supply and demand offset. And
Okay, can I ask you a question then?
go right ahead.
Okay, so property value for rental. We have units, but they're very, very unaffordable. And you told me that people are scared to be homeless, so they'll pay anything to be inside. So it's artificial inflation,
Exactly.
which then goes to actual homes actually having a higher value, a housing bubble. So you scare people to pay anything for rent, even though we have units, and then property value goes up, and property is actually owned by some of these supposed nonprofits who are involved in creating public housing and then not doing well with our spending of that money, which is something that the LA controller just called out, that the taxpayers were generous and made room for 10,000 units, but it hasn't been spent. So let's hurry up and get something that you would take care of for, say, an emergency, like something FEMA disaster or, you know, a crisis like this, you would take care of it as that. So anyway, to make it all a video that is, I can cut together and have what people have to say. I'm going to take some of this and add other voices. Can you speak to what I just kind of told you based on what you told me in that area?
I think the rest of the story is there's a label they put on themselves, sanctuary state, and anybody who's out there knows that there is no sanctuary here whatsoever. But they called them a sanctuary state to draw more people to come here, and many did get sucked into that. So they're here on the streets, but that's only 30%. The 70% are local people who are on the street.
Okay, so when people see a lot of people experiencing homelessness and they're on sidewalks and there's suffering, and how does that influence them in what they're willing to pay for rent?
Supply and demand. So basic business tells you if you have more of the supply than you do the demand, the price of the supply goes down. If you have more demand than you have supply, the price of the supply goes up. So it's basic business, and it works with human flesh. So they have to have more people than they have housing to keep this bubble going up, to raise our property value without putting up street lights or fixing the roads or making their schools better.
So that's an artificial inflation.
Artificial, yeah.
Of property value.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And they're doing it all over the country, but we're the best at it. And that's why we have the highest amount of homeless people. And so we are skyrocketed. Our property value skyrocketed, but there wasn't a pothole patched. Nothing's changed. The roads are still just as bad. Our schools are still the worst. Nothing's
So
changed.
the explanation of our increase in rent and the increase in property value is a false value based on fear.
Based on supply and demand.
By actually calling and bringing out street homelessness.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, okay.
And so another part of this thing is Portland claims to have a unemployment rate that says that there's 8,000 jobs short in Portland. And if you have 8,000 jobs short, you have 8,000 people that can't be housed because they can't afford it. So if they wanted to solve this, they would do something to get jobs for everyone so they could be inside, so they could afford housing. But they don't want to do that because it would level things out and the supply and demand would be equal and the prices wouldn't keep rising like they are.
Well, that I think is a very well-rounded picture, and I'm going to go collect some more info because I've heard some other things.
If we have in Portland, Oregon.
Excuse me, can I put you on camera, or do you want to be on camera? Okay, because I have to go in a second, and but I don't want to miss what you have to say. Let's see. Can I put her on your step for a second,
Sure.
or
Sure.
you're on your way? So this was actually a pretty good setup, Edie. If you want to have a.
I'm just gonna ask.
Yeah, well, here you are. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I'm putting this on YouTube, so you just never know who's going to see it, as you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's your name?
Hello, I'm Edith Gillis, and I was going to ask the two of you, in the city of Portland, if we have 16 times the number of peopleless housing, it's not a matter of supply and demand as far as adequate, safe housing. It's just affordable rent that you're talking about, right?
Rent goes up with property value. So if the price of the house goes up, so does the cost of rent. So it's direct connect.
But a lot of the luxury housing that was brought in, like at the Pearl District and now in the Central East Side, they are charging, and near the New Seasons, near Emmanuel Hospital, they're charging humongous amount of money for the condos or for the rent. And yet, that's not because they're paying taxes, because those developers, are free of paying taxes for a number of years, and that's being extended. So that money doesn't benefit Portlanders, and then many people who are from Asia or whatever, investing in housing thinking it's going to buy low, sell high, they're making sure that those places are left empty. So can you elaborate more how that affects the vested interest in having more people visibly suffering in the streets?
If the nonprofits, if they don't have people visibly suffering their donations in, it dries up just like that. And so they have to have them visibly. That's why all of these places are being heated to keep the plumbing from freezing, but they won't put a human in it to keep the human from freezing. Because it's dollar over life.
And I actually have the next person I'm going to interview has one of those nonprofits, supposedly, which is TPI, which is not solving a problem, but actually
making a fortune off
drawing,
of it.
And they're involved in land. So to find out the extent of where the Bud Clark Commons kept going and going and going, I'm on my way right now to the action, which has continued. So I guess I'm going to go, and I think that piece of the puzzle that you just added, Edie, I'm definitely putting in here. So thank you both.
So if the visibly homeless doesn't help the homeowner and the property values rise, it helps the nonprofits. And both are powerful. They're the ones with the money.
Because they get supposedly more taxes, but even though the wealthy people are not paying taxes.
And then another part of it was when I was young, growing up in Arizona, if the government did something to draw a big business in, the big business sent their scouts first to find out if there was housing for their employees. And so if there wasn't, they invested in a housing program and put housing in so their employees would have a place to stay. Here, our government doesn't require that. All they have to do is pay a little bit more than the person in the house to the paycheck from their company. They give them a little bit more than what the locals are making. So the property owner evicts the ones who don't have the money to pay the higher rent, and the new company who come in, their people have enough money to pay the higher rent. So that's how they do it. And
then they often lay things off. Intel, Nike, Boeing, they have these massive layoffs every once in a while, and so they got the tax subsidies. They got all these perks, but that was supposedly so that the employees would pay higher taxes to make up for them not paying taxes, and then they can't pay the taxes because now they're unemployed.
Wow.
They're part of the visibly miserable homeless.
Okay, and speaking of, I'm going to go down and talk to people who can't make appointments as easily, so I'm going to, thank you, it's nice to meet you.
See you soon.
Okay. So if you want to say your name or a nickname or anything.
Hi, we are Christine and Enya.
Oh yeah, Enya. Can I show Enya?
Enya's, yes.
Hi
Enya. We had a long hot walk.
Enya. Okay. So where was the walk?
Oh, we just went to Lloyd Center.
That is hot. This is a hot day.
Well, we took the train, but just a little bit of walking between stores. Dollar Tree, Safeway.
I hear-
The good part of Lloyd Center.
Right. So on our Give Us Shelter walk, you and I were talking, and also in the Capitol in Salem. So you spoke to whatever our representatives are, and so tell me about TPI, and we're talking about what needs to be improved. I think you've been very positive.
I would really like to see TPI granted permission to allow people into sustainable housing and not these revolving door transitioning apartments.
Okay. So, apartments.
Paying the man to live in his box with his bugs under his rules.
Okay, what's sustainable
We
housing?
allowed independent housing, a mobile home park. Build some tiny homes, but we need ownership of our living space.
Okay. So what happens if you don't have ownership of your living space and you have a man in a box?
To be able to obtain that.
I mean, what happens to a person if they're trying to go in this revolving door of unsustainable housing solutions with the man giving a lot of rules? Like, what happens to people?
They end up back in the shelters or on the street. They can't afford the rent. They're tired of the tweaker neighbors, or it's infested with bugs or mold.
Okay. So what do you, when you told me in Salem about sustainable homelessness being what they're working on instead of sustainable housing, can you elaborate on that? Oh, something's moving. My tripod is moving. Is there an animal? I have this on an animal.
Oh, it's Miss Trouble.
I'm sorry.
Hi, baby girl.
I didn't know that
Hi,
my
sweetheart.
camera stand was on a
Aw.
moving animal.
Yeah, there's a puppy in
Oh,
here.
how sweet. Let me move my camera. I just started moving and I was like, oh, this is not unoccupied. All right. Okay, that's nice. Okay. Yeah, hi puppy.
Hi, honey. We love you.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah. So can you explain sustainable homelessness? That concept.
The shelters are necessary. I'm pleased that we do have them. But the environment is not set up for success at all. It's crazy, it's disrespectful, it's rude. You're constantly having people in your face, in your business, whether it be staff or other residents, whether they be friends or someone messing with you. Generally they're friends. You want to be nice, but you're trying to get things done. You can't make a phone call, it's too noisy. You try to get comfortable, try to get a screen set up that you can actually read and respond on, you have to move. It's always something.
Okay, so we provide lots of food in Portland.
Yes.
That's what I hear. I hear we have food but not shelter. So it makes people.
They're not in the same places.
What do you mean?
Well, the couple's shelter that I was at recently with my husband is out in Selwood. We're not allowed to keep any food there unless you're diabetic. And the closest grocery store is a little more expensive than the standard.
Okay, right. So
And they do their best. They'll make tuna mac or spaghetti or whatever, but at 7 o'clock at night,
okay.
sometimes we might have sandwiches.
So if you want food that you can live with, you are in one place, and then if you want a place where you can have couples housing, you're in another place. Okay, so what
Well,
is
I wouldn't call it housing. It's more like warehousing.
warehousing?
Yeah. It looks military.
Oh,
That's what it's saying.
okay. So human warehousing in one space, and then the food and so forth is taken care of. People can find meals, but it's in a different.
If they either have money or want to eat a bunch of white flour and no nutritional value whatsoever, because they do serve food, but it's not nutritional value.
Okay.
A lot of times I won't eat there just because why?
Okay, so you're not getting nutrition,
No,
and it's
not at all.
It sounds very institutional,
I
like
get a lot more
jail.
nutrition here at Sisters of the Road.
Okay, so Sisters of the Road is one of the places that has good food,
Yes.
and it has a community versus a human warehousing institution-ish thing.
And we need to
Yeah.
start checking the
Okay.
parking meters.
Okay, so this is more complicated. Let me see if I can.
And the people that stay in these places very much become a community and do really well, but we have staff hovering and dictating and bullying.
Okay.
And the good ones, they're not allowed to do anything.
Okay. And then you're in the open, and so if you're trying to work on the computer, you said that you were trying to use it for like job searches or something, and you couldn't even focus because there's people coming up to you all the
I
time.
can't focus on my own tablet
Wow.
in the park.
Yeah.
It's that crazy. It's 120 people,
Okay.
and they're all trying to get along with each other, so the best thing to do is be nice.
Because you can't really get away from people once you have a problem.
No, you can't.
Okay. So it's a very weird situation to not be able to retreat if you make a
It's
mistake.
designed that way. It is set up that way. It drives people insane.
What
They want you to
happens?
go through their housing programs.
Okay, so is there a connection
They want you
between?
to sit down and tell a worker all your personal business and get shoved into one of their little home forward boxes that's going to skyrocket, and it's already overpriced to begin with. I guess
Okay.
some laws passed where they can't keep spiking the rent overnight. Well, it's too late. They waited till that was already done.
Well, that's
And
an
now
interesting
what?
point.
Now look what we're stuck with.
So, if you have a situation where you have strife because you can't get away from people and you can't focus, does that impact how you relate to sweeps and sidewalk management people? Do you think that it causes?
I don't have any legal problems, and I intend to keep it that way, so when they tell me to move, I move.
Okay. And do you ever feel like your patience is going to make you snap, like you're going to get?
At the shelter more so than outside.
Okay. Do you
I'm
ever
much happier outside.
do you ever have problems at the shelter that are caused by strife that are causing it, making it difficult to live at the shelter?
It's designed that way. Everyone does. Everyone.
Okay. So you're looking for a lower stress, higher standard of living,
Yeah.
and that's like
I don't
motorhomes
appreciate
and
being dehumanized.
right. You don't want to be warehoused.
My little kids half my age. Little 20-year-olds on the payroll.
Okay.
I'm really tired of it.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody would like that or be able to live with it. But, okay. Well, thank you for filling in the blanks. I think between the 3 people I talked to today, we have the whole,
The
at least the
picture.
beginning. And
We have a couple puzzle pieces.
we have some good puzzle pieces.
Right
yes,
on.
good puzzle pieces. Okay.
A corner.
Hi, if you want to say your name.
Hello, my name is Eric Leonidas Wilson. They call me Sarge.
Okay, Sarge. I watched you on YouTube from Bob this morning, and his video and some other people watching it around the country. It's pretty explanatory, but I want to ask you about some of the things that you were trying to get across. I've witnessed people not being heard and things not getting across. So now that I'm listening, when they were telling you, when you were informing them that you'd already been moved,
Yes, ma'am. How could they come and do it again?
yeah, can you tell me about the kind of treatment that you were experiencing with moving
Well, they
you?
come and say, hey, all of y'all, it's 7 o'clock. You have 20 minutes to move all your gear 2 blocks away in any direction. They don't care which direction, just move it. And then, after you move it, and everybody's trying to move all their stuff piece by piece, they come by and they start harassing you to take some more stuff. It happened. They threatened to take our stuff after we moved it, and we were in the midst of moving it. But remember, when you are a homeless person, you don't have a bus, you don't have a car, you don't have these things to move your gear. So you have to take it to another safe zone, and then come back and take it to the safe zone. And then that means other people are sitting there that can't come back and carry stuff.
Okay, so the logistics of moving.
It's the same as anybody else. Walk into anybody's house, pick any room, tell them you have 20 minutes to take out of this room what you want, and everything else after that is going to be taken from you, which is called stolen.
Okay.
Stolen. They're going to steal from me because I have nothing, because they can. No, I will not allow that to happen to my family, my friends.
So you were telling him no, and at the same time, as far as ADA access on the sidewalk and all of that stuff, they always have one thing after another after another.
Was this the nighttime video?
No, this is the one that was
Okay, the daytime video, yeah.
So can I
Daytime?
put you on camera? Is it okay?
Yeah, Barbie.
Okay.
We're pulled over.
All right. All right.
Yes, remember,
So-
we're homeless advocates by choice. We walk to Salem for these rights. How can nobody have no rights left in the world? The only way you have rights is to have more than $14,000 a year. If you make under $35,000 a year, they can make you homeless. Seriously. If you make under $75,000 a year, you could barely take care of a household of a wife and 2 kids and 1 dog. Because you can barely make the fuck you payments.
Okay.
The officer sat there and said that because of our situation and what we wanted, we were tearing apart the fabric of the society. That's
Wait,
what
I didn't hear that. But I might be able to actually find it on the video.
Well,
so
Bob was standing against the wall, and we were having a conversation with the officer.
I heard both conversations. I heard the police
Uh-huh.
talking with Bob about valid points. I heard you guys talking about valid points, and
We'll have to
I
go
might
from
be able
the
to.
visual, we'll have to go from the visual back to the audio and listen.
Yeah.
But that impacted me the most.
What did he say to you exactly?
He said that because of what we were doing and what we were trying to get done, we were tearing apart the fabric of society. Because
I thought society started from the trees.
I know, but it was so that
It paused. There might be an
Barbie, tell me about the. I'm sorry. Can you tell us your name?
okay. I'm Barbara or Barbie Weber, and you can choose which one you want to say.
Okay.
It's not important to me. Both names work.
Okay. So
Anyway, they act like because this man here who bought this business, he has more rights than you because he's contributing to society, and they act like we don't contribute to society. You know, do I not eat?
cleans up their trash.
Do I not eat? Do I not buy groceries? Do I not buy gasoline? Just because I don't own a business does not mean that I'm a piece of shit or that I don't deserve to live. And I've had people come up to me, you know, when I'm cooking food outside my van and push me down and say, why are you living like this? You should have a house payment. You should have a car payment. No, man. No. God said don't align yourself with the world. And I don't. Seriously. I'd rather be here than living in some nice, beautiful house. This year I have peace. But the cops, you know, it was a Christian cop there, and he was saying because we don't follow the rules of the city, we're not good Christians. That we were lacking. And that's on tape too. I mean, how dare he test my Christianity? Because I'll tell you right now, I'll take his butt to the book and show him where. I even said, come down to show us. Come down and spend some time with us. Take your gun off. And he said, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't feel safe without my gun. And I'm a woman.
I wish I might be able to find some
Pull
of
that
this
out of the
audio.
audio. Yes.
Because he was saying, both officers were saying really random, off the cuff, disrespectful comments.
You know
And
why? Because they can get away with it because they think they can. I am a citizen of this world. My children are a citizen of this world. Her children are definitely, you are citizens. How do we not have a right? They've already killed off most of our natives. You're going to tell me as a native, I have no right to sleep under a tree? So you're just going to start another set of trail of tears? Another apocalypse upon one? You're going to kill my religion because you think you can stop my voice? No, you cannot stop my voice. My voice comes from the Mother and the Father and Jesus. So, fuck you.
You know, I'm going to be talking to the presidential candidates, and my question to them is, where did our humanity go? When a dog said, when it's by law that a dog has to have shelter,
But a human can't.
but a human can't, you can get ticketed.
that's what I heard.
If you do not provide shelter for your dog, you can go to jail for that. But
I
if
heard Doreen talk about
pardon
that.
me, but if I provide shelter for my wife because she's ailing because of her medication, she's not supposed to be in the sun. Direct sunlight, it says right on the fuck you bottle. They tell me, tear down my tarp, tear down my tent, make it unsafe for my wife. Literally, make it unsafe for her. How can you make it unsafe for her? If her medication says stay out of direct sunlight, she has a right to stay the fuck out of direct sunlight. Other than that, they're impeding her to die faster. How are they going to kill my wife because they don't want to give me a tree and a tarp? Sorry, you can cut that up however you want to, but that's the fuck you truth.
I'm not an editor.
How can I make shelter for children, women, feed them, and they say I'm fuck you wrong? Sorry that I got chips in my mouth. How can I feed somebody else? And they say that's not allowed. How can I make it safe for you to be here for this interview? And they say that's not allowed.
We feed 15 to 20 people every night.
It's gotten so much bigger.
That we have people bickering about buying food.
Not only that, but some of us men in this family don't eat, so that extra random people come by and get fed. How is that wrong?
And every day last night there were literally no space here from one end of the sidewalk.
We couldn't fit
to the
nobody
other. We couldn't
into
fit
the space.
any more people in here. If not, we would have had it. You see how it's double decker like that back there, which means here you have somebody's house, and then you have a tarp in the walkway. You have somebody sleeping on that tarp.
We'll get called on and we'll get ran out.
It doesn't matter. I'm gonna let them sleep there because they need sleep.
And at 3 o'clock when they come, they'll tell us to leave again. That shit sucks.
One time, this is no lie, and I also have the videotape
Sorry, I don't mean
for
to
this.
speak over you.
It's kind of an awful videotape, but you hear everything going on. They had 15 police officers and a sergeant come here, and here's what happened. We had a man who lived in the apartments upstairs come down and sit on the bench, and he spooked a young girl, and she ran over here. And then he started saying that he was going to cut our clicks out and shoot us, and come over and rape us. So I call 911. I get no response. And he calls 911, and he won't let him on the phone. The next thing I see is them coming down the street like a SWAT team with rifles. They only come down about halfway in the block, and they disappear. And then there's like a 5-minute lull. And then all of a sudden, car after car after car. You would have thought we had a bomb threat, man. I mean, how much money did they need to spend to move 15 people? And literally, it's raining. It's raining. It's raining. And they come up and they say at 1:45 in the morning that we have to leave.
Stay blessed, brother.
Because we're a nuisance. Because that man has a house. He got
You
up
have to come down and rape a woman, cut off her clit.
with the gun. And he gets away with that. We live day in and day out with chasing people away that are violent because the resources out here are so freaking scarce. And that's why you got a lot of the theft. Is because, you know, they need, just like any human being does. Everyone has a right to a choice of shelter, food, water, security.
Safety.
Yeah, safety.
That's horrible.
It's the truth, though, love. They don't want nobody to see this, because if nobody sees this as the truth, then they can continue to just do what they're going to do. How about this? Let's take 14 acres, turn it into a new homeless shelter.
Well, no, I wouldn't
Or
call
let's-
it a homeless shelter. Please don't do that.
Let's take 1 acre and turn it into a homeless camp. That means now you have 14 camps on 14 acres. That means self-sufficiency could be done in less than 3 years.
Yes.
That means the setting up of it, the producing of food, and then also making money out. For every one person that lives on that camp has 2 chickens. They purchase those chickens. Those eggs are sellable.
There's a lot of
Do you know how many restaurants we could grow mushrooms? Because in this climate, there's so many other things that can be done in a homeless community with above ground. Excuse my French.
You know,
Excuse my dyslexia. We have the ability to fulfill ourselves. Give me 1 minute. You're good, brother. We have the ability to take care of ourselves. And every time we do, they take it away 1 inch at a time.
I had never been swept. I've been homeless since January 27th, 2000, or 29th of 2015, something like that. One of them. Doesn't matter. But I had not been swept. They posted, I left. Or I would leave before they posted. I just didn't have to deal with it. I'd seen it, and I'd heard about it, but I hadn't experienced it. And then I decided that one day, when it was snowing, it was going to snow really bad, I was going to stay downtown in front of Street Roots. And this is kind of how it started, is I own this van down the block with my ex-husband. And so I'm responsible for the parking and the insurance and all the things necessary for it to be legal down here. Well, it's only 2-hour parking down there. You're supposed to move every 2 hours. Well, under protest, not only did I not pay for parking for as long as I could, but I stayed there as long as I could. And I literally stayed in front of Street Roots for 3 weeks before we moved up here. Now that I've been here, I think I'm either 4 or 5 swept. And each one, some of them are not so bad. You know, I mean, no, it's bad every time. But the worst one is they're telling us now that there's not, I mean, I thought even in your car, there was like every person has a right to privacy. And they're saying it in a tent, you don't have a right to privacy.
You're
How do
allowed
you
to
not?
walk up and touch your door.
Yeah.
Your wife is naked while you go to the bathroom.
Yes.
You come back and your wife is being molested by male officers while she's saying, shut my door so I can put some clothes on. And they say, no, get out of the house and take down your tent. What the fuck is that? And that's a fuck you truth. That's happened to us.
One night I asked for a female officer when they were harassing us in the rain. In the rain.
They
Okay?
told her she had no right to
No,
female
she said,
representation.
he says, do you want me to cut your tarp down?
Yeah.
So I complied. And I gave him my name. You know, but I have a right. I mean, I've been raped. I have PTSD. I have all these things. And if I don't want to deal with the male in authority that I don't trust, why can't at least I have a female in authority I don't trust?
What do you think about if I publish this video with everybody's comments and it goes
You have our
viral.
You have my permission.
Take our emotions,
How do you deal
our
with
voices.
other
You
people's
cut.
cruelty when they see it and they make comments and they're ignorant and they're mean? How do you deal with that meanness?
You know what?
We fight back.
We fight back. I am just a lowly homeless person. I live on this sidewalk with
You're
my
not a
family.
lowly homeless
In
person.
my society, let me finish my statement.
Oh, that's what they tell you you are.
But here it is. If I was so weak and lowly, why am I going to Washington D.C. People's campaign that was started by Martin Luther King?
Why are
You know,
we
we're going.
advocates fighting for the world?
Me
Because
and my
you guys are
brothers
gonna
went
take
to
it
go.
away.
Me and my brothers went to go testify in front of the Human Rights Commission, and now they're not only they're fighting to make homelessness a protected class. Okay,
Yes.
you have to understand something. I had a house. I had that $75,000 a year job. Okay, I ran a ministry. I did all the normal things. I went to church I lived in the church. I lived in the church. And when I got out here, not only did my own family say, fuck you, get away from me, so did my church family. Why? I didn't change who I was. You know, and that's why I think a lot of us struggle with drugs and alcohol. It's just the pure rejection. I mean, I think, you know, and because it's cruel. It is.
Yeah.
That's why why we're so drawn to each other. You know, I'm hoping that we can change the world. I mean, I have a relationship with our mayor, and Ted Wheeler, and I've seen him like 5 times now, either testifying or face to face, like in street rooms, and also, you know, at City Hall. I believe he wants to do something, but his hands are tied
I think he
by
wants to change it, but they won't let him.
He's trying to change it in the way that he can, but his hands are tied because they see his constituents, the ones that matter the most are the ones with the money.
I'm concerned about the news. Do you guys have any thoughts before we go about because you just said constituents, and the constituents are manipulated by watching TV, and the news has an agenda that is obvious. So, so have you dealt with reporters?
Yes, I've been reported. I've been interviewed many times. I can't count. I can't count. I got into an argument with. We were doing a set and lie protest in front of Columbia Sportswear, and I had a man came up and started getting verbally abusive with us. Rich guy, you know, and I just got into it with him. And then I got interviewed by Channel 12 News. I think it was Channel 12. You know,
You can look it up, Barbara Weber.
Okay.
It's findable.
You know, when I do those things, I don't care if they paint my face. I mean, and this is what's funny is because some organizations, my videos, I'm kind of their poster child. You know, I don't. It doesn't matter for me to be the token homeless person,
right?
Because every breath that I take is because this is unfair. This is unfair.
Truth.
This is unfair, and I will fight it to my dying day.
Why are there elderly people left under this tree, but I'm not allowed to keep them safe while they're sick?
This is the truth. They say that being homeless shortens a life 10, at least 10 to 20 years.
Per fucking year.
Okay? They say if you're homeless in Canada, you're dead by 10 years. This is just as much of a Holocaust as anything else. You know, and if you think you're sitting in your house and you're secure, let me tell you a statistic that I learned.
From you.
There's 156,000 people in this city alone that are on the verge of being homeless every single night. Okay? We also have the most homeless children per capita in the United States of America. And here in Portland, Oregon. Why? Why? When we have all these creative solutions. Now they're saying keep Portland pretty. We want to make Portland pretty. What about keep Portland weird? We could be the capital. We could solve this problem today.
The world.
Yeah.
Amen.
You guys just allow us to say the words and say them back.
Okay.